afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Jitsim Independent High School Interclass Debate Competition. Our topic today is parents should be allowed to choose their baby gender. On my right is the government team from A2B, A1D, consisting of Mr. Goh Kang Yong as the first speaker, Ms. Lim Zhishen as the second speaker, Ms. Tan Hui Shan as the third speaker, and Mr. Goh Kang Thong as the fourth speaker. And on my left is the opposition team from A to A, consisting of Ms. Ng Shi Qi as the first speaker, Mr. Ko Jun Xian as the second speaker, Ms. Zoe Kong as the third speaker, and Mr. Tan Ju Qin as the fourth speaker. Now, I would like to introduce our team of adjudicators for today's debate. Ms. Ng as the chief adjudicator, and the other adjudicators are Mr. Tan, Mr. Jeffrey. I, Ling Xuan, will be the chairperson for this debate, and Yi-Ting will be the timekeeper. Now, I'm going to introduce the rules of today's debate competition. Firstly, the maximum speaking duration is 5 minutes for each speaker and 4 minutes for reply speech. There's no extra time given. Next, during the rebuttal, members should not bring out any new arguments or new evidence except on direct refutation of material which has already been presented. Then, members will only speak when called upon by the speaker. There should not be any heckling. Besides, all speakers should attempt to both deliver at least one POI and to accept one POI during the course of the debate. There is no continuous POI allowed. It is considered as heckling. Furthermore, the first minute of each contrasting speech is considered protected time during which no POI can be made. In addition, no POI and new main point may be made during the reply speech. Moreover, the government team must define the resolution. Their definition must be accepted unless it is undebatable or unreasonable. Lastly, is the time allocated for the competition. Time given is 5 minutes. The first bell will ring after the speaker speaks for 1 minute, like this. After 1 minute, member of the opposition team can then raise the POI. After the speaker has spoken for 4 minutes, the bell will ring like this. POIs can still be made after this. POI time given is 15 seconds. After the bell rang, the speaker will have to stop. And after the speaker has spoken for 5 minutes, the bell will ring twice. The speaker has to stop. Now, I call upon the first speaker of the government to present his case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you to the chairperson and timekeeper. A very good morning to the honorable judges, members of the floor, and my dear opponents. I am the first speaker of the government team, and as the first speaker, I will be giving out my team's first point. My second speaker will also be rebutting the points given by the opposite team and giving out our team's second and third points. My third speaker will be doing the rebuttals and strengthen our team's point. My fourth speaker will be summarizing the whole debate. First of all, I would like to start with my definition. Gender is the range of characteristics differentiating between male or female. So, by letting parents to choose their own baby gender, parents are only allowed to choose their baby gender through a process called IVF, which is in vitro fertilization. We will not talk about abortion as it is illegal in Malaysia. We are only giving a legal option for parents to choose their baby's gender, which is IVF, that is legal in Malaysia. Now I will proceed to my first point. My first point is medical reason, such as preventing the birth of children affected or at risk of gender-linked disorders, for example, cervical cancer and testicular cancer. In addition, for family with a history of genetic conditions such as cystic fibrosis, hemophilia or sickle cell disease for couples who have already had a child with a genetic disease, for women who have recurrent pregnancy loss due to a chromosomal abnormality, women of advanced maternal age, and women with repeated in vitro fertilization failure. According to the website sciencedirect.com, Gamal Sarah Ahmad Sarah in human embryos and pre-implantation genetic technology, sex selection for medical indication, applying PGD, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis or CCS, comprehensive chromosome screening to prevent sex-linked disease such as hemophilia or Fragile X syndrome. In fact, most countries allow sex selection for medical reasons, including Malaysia. With sex-specific, the genetic disease can be prevented. Some families are carriers of the non-sex specific disease. It is obviously by gender determination can ensure that the disease will avoid from passing to the next generation or their child. Nearly most of the sex-linked diseases are either more serious among one gender or more common in one gender. For example, hemophilia, color blindness, and muscular dystrophy are more common to a male suffering from one X chromosome, while the disease of the immune system is most commonly affected by women. Therefore, the Microsoft technique used in sorting the sperm carrying the Y and double X chromosome to determine the gender as well as determining the genetic disorder is carried out. This technique is not harmful to the human genes. Statistical data has shown that over 1,200 babies have been born using this advanced technology. With that, I end my speech. Now, I would like to urge the members of the floor to stand with us, believing this motion shall stand. Thank you.
Thank you. The first speaker has spoken for 4 minutes and 43 seconds. Next, first speaker of the opposition to present her case. Time given is also 5 minutes. Please begin.
A very good afternoon to the honorable judges, timekeeper, chairman, my worthy opponents, and members of the floor. The topic for today's debate is, should parents be able to choose their baby gender? And we strongly disagree with it because it occurs gender imbalance, gender inequalities, and the act of gender selection itself is unnecessary. My name is Shi Qi, and I, as the first speaker of the opposition team, will be giving my team's first point, which is gender imbalance. Jun Xian, as the second speaker, will be rebutting the government team and giving out his second and third point, which are gender inequality and the unnecessity of the act of gender selection. Zoe, as the third speaker, will be rebutting the government team and strengthening our team's case. Junqi will be giving the reply speech and summarizing the whole debate. Now, as the first speaker of the opposition team, we accept the government team's definition. Next, I would like to state our premise of this debate. Our first premise of the debate is that parents have no power of right to choose their baby's gender. The second one is that choosing the baby gender is simply unnecessary. Dear member of the floor, the burden of proof is on the government. They have to prove to us that this technology is so good that we have to accept it. Now, I will move on to my first point, which is parents should not be able to choose their baby's gender because it will cause gender imbalance. For parents to be able to choose their baby's gender, it will definitely lead to gender imbalance as there is sexism in some countries, especially the Asian countries such as India and China. They value male babies over female babies, causing skewed sex ratio. According to United Nations Population Fund, Many countries in Asia and Eastern Europe have seen a drastic drop in the number of female babies born compared with male babies. In certain parts of India, the sex ratio is 120 males for every 100 females, and in part of China, the ratio is more than 130 males for every 100 females. The skewed sex ratio began with the introduction of sex selection technology, and have been growing worse in those countries ever since. Now, an oversupply of male in a country will cause men of marriageable age being not able to find wives. These men are identified by a Chinese phrase, rare branches, Guanhun. Political scientists in USA and UK have suggested that excessive male-to-female sex ratio in China and India may prove to be a source of large-scale domestic and international unrest. Not only that, countries with a gender imbalance will lead to an increase in sexual violence, human trafficking, bride kidnapping, and result in unrest politics. It is no coincidence that the increase in gang rapes in India coincides with the decrease in the number of female borns. In the deeply sexist society of India, women face multiple pressure to avoid having female babies, while even if they really have avoided having female babies, the condition of these women will get from bad to worse as the number of females born is getting even lower. It may result in more rape cases, creating a vicious cycle of decreasing number of female babies and increasing cases of gang rape. With this, before I end my speech, we urge the judge to sway with us in believing that the parents should not be able to choose their baby's gender, because this will lead to a gender imbalance and brings more consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. The first speaker has spoken for 3 minutes and 49 seconds. Next, second speaker of the government to present her case. Time given is also 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you, the chairperson and kind people. Good afternoon to judges, my opponent, and members of the floor. I am the second speaker of government teams, and I'm going to give out 2 points and rebut the opposition team's point. Now I'm going to rebut her points. She has stated that gender selection will cause gender inequality, but this problem has already existed long ago before this technology has been invented. For example, 2,000 years ago, China's citizens more prefer male than female, and this culture until now is still practiced in China, so as in India too. And even worse, in India, they will kill their baby because the gender is not the gender that they want. Now I'm giving out my first point. Parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender because it can family balancing. Some common reason prospective parents prefer to balance their families through gender selection are they already have several children of one gender, but they want their next child or children to be the opposite one. And another reason is they are the parents who tragically had lost a child and wanted their next child has the same gender. The next reason is some parents are older and they want their next child and they know their time to have a baby is very limited, so they desire to have control over the preferred gender. The last reason is they belong to various cultures or reasons favoring females as the firstborn and prioritize this distinction. My next point is gender selection can prevent sex-selective abortion. Sex-selective abortion is a well-known problem in some Asian countries, such as India and China, where the cultural preference for sons, coupled with political and economic influence. Many of them oppose to abort a healthy fetus just because the gender is not the gender that they want. Some of them who cannot abort it, they will choose to give birth to it, and abandon the baby or infanticide. So we agree that parents should allow to choose their baby gender because it can family balancing and prevent sex abortion. Thank you.
Thank you. The second speaker has spoken for 2 minutes and 59 seconds. Next, second speaker of the opposition to present his case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Very good afternoon to our honorable judges, timekeeper, chairman, and my worthy opponents and the members of the floor. I, Lucien, am the second speaker of the opposition team, and I'm going to give my rebuttals and my points. Well, the second speaker of the government team has said that allowing the parents to choose their child's gender will be allowing them to have a balance in their families, but that is false. Due to the fact that their parents already have sexualism in mind, so they won't be choosing a better gender balance. And the second point of the government team is about having a replacement for the loss of a child. And that is equally wrong, because you're just having a replacement for the old one that you have lost. With that said, I'll be talking about the inequality among genders and why we don't even need this technology. For starters, the first point is about gender inequality. One of the most typical problems in our society is sexism, in which China and India is the worst. By allowing the parents in China and India to have control over the child's birth gender, we will be indirectly giving them the freedom to be the sexist. And by allowing them to have their baby's sex being chosen, they will be used as a means of their parents. And the baby is being used as an instrument for their own reason, like the second speaker just said. It is being used as a replacement for the own child. And the best example being India. In India, women are thought to be a lesser kind, and males getting the better end of the deal and always sought to take over the family business. And we know for a fact that that is horribly false, as both genders are equally capable of doing anything. Back to the topic. If we give India's stereotypical people the freedom to choose their child's gender, we will create a country which is made mostly of males. And why do we need this problem in the first place? And for my second point, I will be talking about the reasons why we don't even need this technology in the first place. As one author once quoted, just because you can doesn't mean you should. This is also a technological breakthrough that is not so important for us. To start this off, the way that this technology is being used has no proof of helping the civilization in any method, but causing more harm than good. To those who don't know, like the first speaker of the government team just said, they are using a technology called IVF, which is somewhat new, and also it costs over $12,000 US per egg, which is no doubt itself a breach of the average Joe. Not to mention that having a baby of a different gender doesn't make much of a difference at all. And to further state this, Dr. Hughes of the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis said this: your gender is not a disease. Last time I checked, there is no pathology, there is no suffering, there is no illness, and I don't think doctors have any business being there. So rather than wasting time and effort on finalizing this technology, we could be using time and energy on something more meaningful, like finding a way to cure cancer or a way to live longer. So to our esteemed educators, opponents, and the members of the audiences, with these reasons, I think it is clear that parents should not be able to choose their baby's gender. Thank you.
Thank you. The second speaker has spoken for 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Next, the speaker of the government to present the case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you to the chairperson and a very good morning to the judges. Thank you to the chairperson and timekeeper. A very good afternoon to the judges, member on the floor, and my opponent. As the third speaker of the government team, our team strongly agree that parents should be allowed to choose their baby gender. As I will start my rebuttal first. The second speaker states that the IVF is very high expensive, but if your baby, wait. If your baby get the genetic disorder from mother or father, like cancer, for the medical illness, medical treat for the cancer like radiotherapy is 50,000 per circle. Yeah.
How can you say that cancer is a genetically?
Cancer is a genetic disease. It's caused by certain changes to genes that control the way of our cell function, especially they grow and divide. So when you go for the hospital and do the radiotherapy or chemotherapy for like 50,000 or to 75,000 is expensive than IVF. IVF just 18,000 in Malaysia. So and also some of the children will die from the poor because they are poor, then they die under 5 years old. Like in 2070 and estimates 6.3 million children under 15 years of age die every 5 seconds. And the vast majority of these deaths, 5.4 million, occur in the first 5 years of the life, with newborns accounting for around half of the death.
Thank you. The third speaker has spoken for 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Next, third speaker of the opposition to present a case. Time given is 5 minutes. Please begin.
Alright, so very good afternoon to the honorable adjudicators, respectable chairman and timekeeper, members of the floor, and of course my worthy opponents. I'm the third speaker from the opposition team, and we strongly oppose to the motion today, which is parents should be allowed to choose their baby's gender. And as the third speaker, I will be giving our rebuttals towards the government team and strengthen my team's case and prove to you once and for all that this motion should fall. Moving on to my rebuttals. The first speaker of the government team has mentioned about medical reasons and how it would prevent risk of gender-linked diseases. But the government is not fixing the problem here. You might say that choosing a baby's gender will lower their risk of getting cancer or maybe diseases. However, according to a study in Germany, both men and women are equally open to risk of getting some diseases and cancer. So even if you change your child's gender, you will never escape the fact that the chances of getting these diseases are equally high. And the second speaker of, the government team has also mentioned how the gender equality issue is already happening before this technology would be happening. And yes, it's already happening, but dear government, do you think that it is worth it to accept this technology if it worsens the issue? Okay, now moving on to, they also mentioned about less abortion cases. But you should love your child regardless of their gender. If you are biased over one gender, you have no right to be a parent at all. If we allow this technology to happen, we are one step closer to a designer baby. Dear government, today you allow this. Tomorrow you allow parents to choose their hair, their eyes. Accepted.
If there are physical or mental problems on their child, who is going to take the responsibility to tomorrow, or you. Both are not. It is their parents. If the baby's gender is combined with the gender's parents, then they will torture it badly, and it will otherwise cause their
Okay, dear government team, I've mentioned just now, the study in Germany shows that both men and women are equally open to these risks. So, of course, the parents will pay responsibility to that. Now, moving on to restating my team's case. My first speaker has talked about if this technology is open to the world, gender imbalance would happen. This is already happening in the world, ladies and gentlemen. If we allow this technology, there would be absolutely no doubt that it will worsen the situation. We must acknowledge how it could possibly affect us. In China and India, which together accounts for nearly 40% of the population, there were 130 men for every 100 women recorded. In developing countries, high level of gender inequalities correlate strongly with high levels of poverty, conflict, and crime rates. In China, more than 800 cases of human trafficking are reported in only 1 year. Thus, we know that this technology is bringing harm to our society. My second speaker has mentioned how if parents were to be allowed to choose their baby's gender, it is definitively submitting to stereotypes and making their child a victim of high expectations from their family. Sexism, gender discrimination is a really serious issue happening in the world right now. And if we allow parents to choose their baby's gender freely, imagine how badly it would contribute to the worsening of gender discrimination. Members of the floor, you are putting your child on the road they did not decide whether if they want to be on or not. You are making them, even worse, programming them to be exactly how you want them to be. Judges, to do that and to use for their own good as an excuse is absolutely despicable. You are treating them as tools because you are neglecting their right to choose in the future in your favor, and that can cause a lot of problems. And our team's third point, it is unnecessary because it is a waste of resources and it even brings risk to the table. Members of the floor, the government might propose that it will reduce risk of getting diseases, but by using this technology, you are still bringing risk to the table, like my second speaker has mentioned. Having to pay so much, go through all that process just to choose the gender of your baby is definitely not worth it. Rather than wasting thousands and thousands of dollars into researching something so small, into something that will only reduce a minimal amount of something happening, we should focus more on things that are actually more important, like world hunger and conflict resolution, and also how to make humans live longer, like my second speaker has also mentioned. So this is why our team strongly disagrees to the motion today, and we strongly urge the members of the floor and the educators to sway with us in saying that parents should not be allowed to choose their baby's gender. Thank you.
Thank you. The third speaker has spoken for 4 minutes and 31 seconds. The first, second, and third speaker from the government and opposition has delivered their speech. Before the both teams deliver the reply speech, each team will be given 2 minutes to discuss. Start now.